Morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the Boom Bar on your Boom Radio. NG, my name is Shola Rogers.
And my name is Ola Delupa. The one and only.
And together we will be with you for the next 1 hour, taking you on a trip through the world of music, sports, politics, and everything
In
in between.
between,
It's the Boom Bar.
it is the Bombard. So, what we tell you is sit back, relax, have your drinks, and enjoy the show with us today. It's a very interesting day. It's the first week of a new month. Actually, it is the first main week of new month. It is beautiful. It's just 4th day of July. Is it just me? But this year is flying. Like it is July already. It's interesting because when you look at different things, you're like, okay, I thought I was gonna be done about with this before this time, and then you're like, you know what? But you're just thankful all the same. So yeah, it is what it is. Moving on from that, we're going to be talking about a lot of things. We're going to be the transfer window, football transfer window is officially open. People are really making purchases. Trust me, people are going left and right. People seem to be, having fun with this one. This particular transfer window, which you don't see a lot, it doesn't really get interesting until like the end of it. But this particular one is different. Looks like a lot of people just want to get business done and just move on quickly. So yeah, there's been a lot of signings since last week, back and forth. There's some over the weekend. Even as of this morning, there are a few signings here and there. There are a few ones that are there's some verbal confirmations, all just some paper signings that are left. So yeah, we're going to be touching on that. Of course, if you do not know, over the weekend, Isreal Adesanya did it again. He definitely did it again over the weekend. We'll touch on that a little bit. Then we're moving to politics. We know that Nigeria, talking about politics, is one of the major things that is happening now. I know that between now and February, March 2023, there's going to be a lot of politics. But before then, Osun State politics is in exactly 2 weeks. It's even less than 2 weeks. So yes, Osun State gubernatorial elections is going to be where they're either going to elect the incumbent governor, or they're going to have a new governor. So we're going to be talking about that. INEC is in the news as well. INEC offices are still being razed. They're still being burnt in the southeast. It's sad. I'm very afraid as to how elections are going to go down there. We saw what happened in Anambra State, and did elections happen there? Yeah, but voter apathy was really really great on those parts. So I hope that something is done about that. A few other things. We're going to be talking about politics. The presidential candidate had a lot to say yesterday. Had a lot to say over the weekend. There was looks like some mergers. He literally shut down some speculations. Yeah. So also there's already a reply to those things. So we'll be talking about that and a few other things that has been happening all over the world. And so sit back, relax, have a drink, and then we just dive right into it. So for starters, I think we should start from football transfer window. We know that a lot of people have been going back or wanting to go back to where they're coming from, likes of Pogba, the likes of Lukaku. Looks like they're done. Lukaku didn't even stay, so he's not staying so long. Pogba did quite a number. Over the weekend, there was gist that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to Chelsea. I'm not sure that gist is true. I don't know where that emanated from, but I'm not sure there's really any truth about it. Also, I saw just today that he said he was going to Napoli or something funny like that, and I'm like, okay, transfer window is still open, so anything at this point is possible. But there are a few people that were sure that have moved, or that have not. Let's say we're sure that have moved. They've signed the dotted lines, and we moved on. I know that. I think what really started the transfer window. Not that when it was open, but what really got people a lot of signings on was, I think it was what's his name now, Mbappe. I think it was Mbappe's signing that was really controversial, back and forth. Then from there we saw I think Lacazette moved back as well. But over the weekend, just this morning, it's official that Kalvin Phillips actually moved from Manchester City from Leeds to Manchester City. What do you think that is?
It's a fantastic buy on the part of Man City. A player like Kalvin Phillips will plug in a hole based on the departure of one or two players from their team, and if it goes well, based on the way he has played when he was at Leeds and all, you should expect it to be like a like for like replacement, the kind of player that would most likely prevent the loss of the one that's left. Like you really won't feel that
so much.
I'm not saying that is at par with the player that left. I'm just saying that at times you just feel that you bring in another player who brings his own style and his own verve, and Kalvin Phillips to City is a very good move for City and Kalvin Phillips.
Kalvin Phillips, yeah. And talking about it, we know that they're ready to spend a lot of money. Just a few weeks before then, the likes of what's his name, Erling Haaland, had also moved. Is probably one of the most expensive moves that has happened this season. It's so everybody. There's a little bit of
The interesting thing about Haaland's move to City is he's actually a City fan.
Yeah.
Like again, at times that helps.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah.
I have seen people who support one team playing for another team.
Yeah, remember, I think it was Igalo that was like, it was always his dream to play for Manchester United.
He took a pay cut.
Yeah.
Took a pay cut, did everything he could to go play for Man United. When all they did was make inquiries, and the man said,
you jumped at it.
Hey, let's do it. And speaking about Igalo, he was just recently crowned the highest goal scorer in the Saudi league where he plays. His team won the league. And of course, he was crowned the goals king. So good move for Haaland, because that guy is a phenomenal player.
Yeah, he is. And he's young.
If City is set up proper, I think Haaland's acquisition is going to be the most lethal that you've seen. It's the kind of team that they're going to put out. They've not really had a player to spearhead the attack since Kun Aguero left. Gabriel Jesus flattered to deceive. He couldn't step up to that role. Not like he wasn't a great player, but he just didn't step up to the role.
I think that Aguero was really. I think for him it was just really like a huge. It was really huge shoes to fill. Really.
Yeah. So they found it difficult to replace Aguero, and at some point they were playing Raheem Sterling as an arrowhead a couple of times. And of course, we all know that Raheem Sterling is more of a flank or wing man than a front. But he was getting the goals too.
He was
the
actually.
way the team was structured.
Wait, if I may ask, is it me? But I think now that you said it, I think I saw it somewhere. I think he's left.
No, he's actually on his way.
He's on his way
to Chelsea. Chelsea are interested in signing Raheem Sterling.
And I'm still talking about Manchester City. We know now it's official. That player that you had mentioned, Gabriel Jesus, has now moved to Arsenal on a 5-year deal. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
I think it's a fantastic move. But 5 years? Really?
Yes. You don't want to sign a player who is young and who might become so great to a short-term deal. So you take this kind of gambles and sign him on a long-term deal, because if you had signed a 2-year deal with a Gabriel Jesus, and
then by the end of the 2 years,
even 1 year into the deal, he's already banged in 30-40 goals. You're about to lose him. The buyout clause can be activated. All sorts of crazy things could happen, especially with the kind of crazy money that some club owners have. You know, so a 5-year deal is a risk worth taking, with the hope that it will come good.
You know, it's very interesting. Yeah, like you had said, we've seen a few clubs bought or buying a lot of it. Still talking about Manchester City still in the news as Manchester City owners have completed an 11.2 million pound takeover of Palermo as the City Football Group adds an 11th club. Like you said, looks like they have money.
Yes, they
to
do.
throw around.
Yes, they do. And of course, what they've done basically is to expand their network when it comes to the ownership of football clubs and all. Again, they use this as a form of synergy. If you look at it from the football side of things, that's why you'll find that at some point it will be easier for them to buy a certain player from a certain country, you know, with the hope of saying, okay, we want this guy to play for Man City, but he's not ready. So instead of doing that, they just push him to one of the other
clubs. Let him
express.
Oh, okay.
You know, so they do that and all.
Oh,
of
of course, we know that City
So-
is obviously their biggest acquisition, though. But you know, one club that I thought that would have been dishing out a lot of money this time that we've not seen yet. Maybe they're still. It's Newcastle. Like everybody was expecting.
Well, they bought a couple of players.
Yeah, they're just not.
No, it's not about marquee signings. I know what you mean. It's a marquee name.
Yeah,
Like,
we thought there
Newcastle-
was gonna be a lot of money
Newcastle,
being thrown
Ajax,
around.
Ajax sale of
Exactly.
let's say Jesus to Arsenal or Malacia to United or
Yeah,
something.
we're expecting a
but
few of those.
The thing is, it's. I think it's better this way. This shows that they're in it for the long haul and they're not like going to overdo it, like quickly buy all the big names and not be able to strike a blend, you know. Them going with the coach that they went with again was a big deal for me. Like they didn't go for any of the so-called big names and all of that. And the instant he came on board and got a few players in through the doors, everything just changed for them, you know. At some point they were being touted to go on relegation and look at where they are now. So yes, they're buying one or two, and I think they're still going to buy more. But I'm glad that Newcastle is not overreaching. You know,
They're not doing it yet. It's just
could
be-
tip the
should
balance
coming down.
against them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm still talking about the football. Another person that looks like has agreed verbally to moving to Manchester United on a 3-year deal is Christian Eriksen. Now, this particular person, I am particularly happy for him.
Yes. Just when you thought that it was
That his
over,
career had ended, yeah.
he had a life-threatening incident while playing active football for his country. Then he bounced back in a very interesting way. Now, personally, because if you go search out old videos, you might find me saying, I don't think he should be playing active football.
Playing that much.
But who am I? I'm not a doctor.
Yeah,
I'm just an
he's
analyst
actually been.
and a fan. And I am afraid that he might exert himself and find himself in that situation. But apparently, it looks like he's not as bad as I thought he was, you know. Because when he came to England, you know, and he joined, I think it was Brentford or something.
Brentford, yeah.
He was the deciding factor. He was the difference in that team, you know.
He was. It's Brentford as much as, you know, once in a while. The last season, of course, we know that they are just being upgraded to the Premier League. We know that once in a while they showed flashes of good football, yeah. But of course, we knew that it was just it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. So yes, then when he came in, did we see a difference? Yes, there was a little bit of more consistency with their football, but I feel maybe this is just me being a little sentimental. Was, of course, he could not play from the league where he was coming from because of the pacemaker he had, but Brentford took a chance on him.
Yes, they did.
And
Yes, they did.
isn't he a little unfair that Now that the world has now seen, Premier League has now said, okay, this guy is not doing badly. They're just going to snatch them off Brentford.
It's business. It's the real life that we live in, and there's nothing like being fair or unfair. They also got him for a song. They got him, like virtually, very easy, regardless of the medical condition that we all know that he had or has. So it's not about being fair. It's about being smart. So when you got the guy through the doors, what you should have done is what Arsenal did with Jesus. You take a big risk and say, you know what, Christian, we're giving you a 4-year deal, a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
But you didn't give him that deal. So you also didn't show faith in him. You gave him a short-term deal, and that's why it's easy for him to walk away.
To up and go. Okay.
So there's nothing about being fair, especially when it comes to business, and especially when it comes to the cutthroat business of player transfer and the football transfer window. So for me, I don't think it has to do with fairness. It just has to do with them gambling and not getting it right. Man United got Paul Pogba, trained him, made him a big player, a good player, failed to give him a deal at the right time. As at the time when they were supposed to promote him to play in the first team, they went to beg Paul Scholes to come back from retirement in a role that Pogba would have slotted into.
Him perfectly.
So Pogba refused to sign a new deal with them and walked away on a free to Juventus. Went there, won a couple of trophies, this. Then they went to buy him for about 80 million. Their own player that they developed. Same thing happened again. This time around, when his deal was winding down, they also didn't give him a deal. So the guy said, look, it's obvious the guys don't want to keep me. So he walked away. So again, it's not always about the player alone. It's also about the
whole system.
Did Brentford actually give him the kind of deals that they should have
that
given
would make him
at
stay
the right time?
Okay, that's fair enough. Actually, that's very fair. Let's move away from the Premier League as Barcelona has confirmed that Frank Kessie is their first summer signing.
Yeah, Kessie joins them on a free. I only a few days ago, or a few hours ago, they said thank you to Adama Traore, who was there on loan and everything, and they also are clearing out a couple of the players that they don't want to keep. So I'm like, okay, I don't understand the focus.
The plan.
I know that I have been reading things that the club chairman has been saying, and it's obvious that their focus is more on one or two players that will not be easy for them to get. They want Rafinha from Leeds, and of course, Rafinha is a player that the Arsenal also want. And in fact, at some point, he was supposed to be on his way to Arsenal. Then Chelsea moved in, and we heard he was on his way to Chelsea. But his real target as a player is Barcelona. But Barcelona cannot do it yet because there are a lot of financial issues that the club is going through at the moment. So they need to sell one or two players for them to come out boldly to say, yes, we are trying to get Rafinha in. And all of this is based on this Kessie deal. Now, the Frank Kessie deal is a free transfer. So whatever is costing them is not the same much. Like they're buying a player off a club.
Yeah.
Or they're trying to buy off his contract or anything. But again, Lewandowski, who is currently tied to Bayern Munich, is the player that everybody thinks will be like a marquee signing for them. And it's based on body language and a couple of things. It looks like the guy is hell-bent on going to Barcelona. But the club that he plays for is not an hungry club. They're not afraid. They're not in need of money. So they're not trying to play ball with anybody. So those were the names that I was expecting to hear. We got Rafinha, we got Lewandowski. But you're talking about the free transfer as your first signing. And of course, when you know how the Galacticos of Madrid work, and of course how their rivals Barcelona work, you would expect a little bit of a marquee signing or something.
Yeah, there's a lot
Kessie,
more drama.
Kessie might turn out to be a great player, but for me, the transfer
now
market
just,
this doesn't inspire.
It doesn't. It's not very inspiring. Now, there's, like I said before, there are reports, and it looks like Manchester United are really fighting so hard to keep Cristiano Ronaldo, because there's reports that he's about to leave.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they are fighting to keep him. If we understand how the transfer market works, he has a deal with them that is not expired yet. So, if anybody wants to get Ronaldo out of Man United, they're gonna have to buy out his contract. I'm sure there's a buyout clause somewhere or something.
Of course, it's Ronaldo.
So
it is Ronaldo.
Gist, because it's about gist.
Mm-hmm.
The gist is that his agent has been shopping him around, which is what agents do. At times they mean it. At times they just want a new deal or a new package or God knows what. At times they just want assurance. So I don't think they're struggling to keep him. They're just going to say he is not for sale. He is contracted to them until the end of next season. So if they know their onions, which I know they do, he is not for sale. So if he wants to force his way out of the team, then someone has to cough out the money to say, we want Ronaldo. Now, right now, according to the experts, not a single club has come out to say, okay, we want to buy him off the books of Man United. So, usually, are United struggling to keep him? No, they're not. Does he want to leave? Yes. It's possible that he might want to go because it is rumored that he wants to be guaranteed that he will play and that they are bringing in more players. That would make
to cushion the effect.
That would make it easier for him to thrive and excel. So I would I know I heard in fact it's trending on social media as we speak. They're saying Neymar and Ronaldo to Chelsea, and I'm like, it's pipe dreams. But
okay.
It's the transfer market.
It is the transfer market. I'm not even sure that Chelsea has, the way they are now, I don't even think they can afford such. And we should also remember the issue of financial fair play and all those things definitely have to come into play. We know that PSG is going through that, where I think La Liga and a few people are actually call them out on those things. So yes, those things are actually very, very important. So let's move off that. We definitely from now we're definitely going to be bringing in more of a little bit more news on football. But before we leave sports completely, we know that for people that do not know, the style bender himself, Isreal Adesanya, has definitely he had a fight over the weekend. And the very interesting thing why I wouldn't even want to talk about this was because there was a lot of reports that a lot of people were going on about how his fights are very short, how his fights are boring, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, and the first thing that popped in my head is, we all know that the bottom line for any game is to win, or any sport. Take for example football. Whether the game is boring or the game is interesting, is whoever scores goals that wins the game. End of story. This person won by unanimous decision. Moving on. Why is there a conversation about how his fights are boring? What does that even have to do with anything?
Yeah, I listened to people and I read a lot of comments like that. People will talk, and like you said, he won, which is the bottom line. I digress to prove a point. Anthony Joshua fought a boxer that he was not even supposed to fight in the first place, and that guy beat him and took his belt from him. When they had the rematch, AJ just did all he had to do, and he won his
One
belts
is
back.
belts.
Some people said it was boring. Some people said it was this or that.
Okay.
But this is the same thing they kept on saying about Floyd Mayweather as a boxer. But go and check Mayweather's records. Pound for pound, fight for fight, he didn't lose. You know why? Because he was always fighting to win. He wasn't trying to entertain you. He wasn't trying to get
It's not about the
injured
entertainment.
or trying to get damaged in the process. The days of boxers like Muhammad Ali, Muhammad Kawhi, and Pinkley Thomas, and a couple of other great boxing greats, those days are actually gone. Where these guys took a beating, man. They're like, you know what? This is what we do. So they took a beating. It was entertaining. People did what they had to do, and all sorts. But at the end of the day, years after, you find how damaged they are and how things have gone bad for them and all. So smart boxers and smart pugilists and combat sports people have found a way around it, which is basically fight to win.
That's it.
And that's what Isreal Adesanya has done. That fight was not boring. I saw the fight. He won the fight clearly, and
That's for me. That's even the bottom line.
And
He won it, and then move
people
on.
will talk.
At least there's no. The thing is, first things first. For me, there's no conversation about how maybe if the other person should have won. Do you understand?
Exactly.
There's no controversy about that. That he won. He won fair and square, and we move on from that. I don't know where the conversation starts from. He's not. Is this? Is that? Why do we like stressing ourselves over things that are not, to me, that are not even interesting?
But a lot of people will say it because they don't like the personality of the person they are referring to. In this case, you don't expect everybody to like Isreal Adesanya. So that's why they will say, "Oh, his fight was boring."
Good luck to them. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move off that. As also over the weekend, that for like the past 1 week, we know that there's been talks about how the NNPP, I think New Nigeria Political Party, and Labour Party, there's going to be a merger of some sort, which we have said it on the boom bar that we have checked, and it looks like a merger is not possible anymore, but maybe somebody stepping down and all that might still be possible. And there's talks back and forth about how if one person would step down for another person, as in the name of Rabi Kwankwaso or Peter Obi, one person who would be presidential candidate, who would be the vice presidential candidate, and there's talks about how Kwankwaso should be the vice presidential candidate and how Peter Obi should also be the vice presidential candidate. I think a close associate of Rabi Kwankwaso last week had talked about how it was impossible that NNPP had a larger structure back and forth, and Labour Party, everybody has something to say back and forth. So now looks like the former governor of Kano State has officially put some conversations to rest, but politicians will always be politicians. You cannot totally say that the word is final. It's a long time from February though. But yesterday, Rabi Kwankwaso has come out. He did an interview where he talked about how with some permutations about how he knows for a fact that according to the Nigerian constitution, one region cannot just win an election, and how kind of insinuating that Peter Obi needs him more than he needs Peter Obi. So, and also that he cannot be president, he cannot be vice presidential candidate to Peter Obi.
Yes. It's a matter of how you look at it. It depends on if you are an NNPP person, a Labour person, a supporter of Kwankwaso, or a supporter of Peter Obi, or a neutral. And if you're a neutral, you will look at these things without any form of bias, and you say, okay, let's take a look at it closely. Academically, Kwankwaso is ahead because go check out the man's CV and all. You get Peter Obi is not a dunce; he's also very smart and he has his academics in place. Politically, they were both governors. Kwankwaso was governor for 4 years, and there were other things that happened. Then he came back and was governor again. Peter Obi was governor for 8 years. In between the 8 years, he was impeached, I think once or twice, of course, but 8 years, for a stretch, back to back. Then you look at achievements. What were the legacies and stuff? Both of them seem to have a good track record when it comes to education, which is something that we like. Personally, I do. But again, in between that time, Kwankwaso has become a senator, garnering experience and expanding his network. In between that time, or in the course of his career, he's been an ambassador. He's worked in some key roles in government, which will stand him in a good stead. But what Peter Obi has done is, after being a governor for 8 years, he only popped up again when he was going to be a vice president, running mate to Atiku 4 years ago. You get, but Kwankwaso stayed more relevant.
Yeah,
but people don't want to hear this truth. A lot of people, the instant you say it, oh, you're a bad person, you don't support their movement and all of that. But it's my opinion. My name is Shola Rogers, and I am entitled to my opinion based on the facts that I have gathered and the experience that I have. So I never saw Kwankwaso leaving all of this. Then again, looking at how 4 or 5 months ago he started a party with Galadima and a couple of other people, and they already have senators crossing to their party, House of Rep members crossing to their party, House of Assembly members crossing to their party, and they're just going to look at someone and say, oh, yeah, you know what, because there's a lot of hue and cry on social media. So that's why Kwankwaso kept on saying, we know what's happening on social media. We understand
we
that. We
get it, but
we are talking grassroots politics.
You know the interesting part, there was I actually watched the whole of that video, and there's one thing that he said that I think I would totally agree with, and it was talking about how even though the end of it I think he was just talking about basically his own side, but he made a very strong notion, and he's like that the people in the north, that over time the people in the north have when they decide to vote for one person, not everybody, whether anything you like, they're going to vote for the person no matter what. And he made an example of President Muhammad Buhari, and it's the truth, which he now linked to the fact that it's obvious how one region cannot make you win. Even when President Muhammad Buhari did not win an election, he had major block voting from the north that you cannot take away from him any day, anytime. He usually just needed another, at least one, to win from the south for him to have attained what he attained. So yes, and the truth is, as he had said, Rabbi Kwankwaso had talked about how the people in the north have a way of doing their own things, that even the elites is not determinant on who the elites like or they don't like. That is about who they want to vote. And you know what I picked from that is that, shouldn't that be, if that is really true, that should be the mentality of everybody. Nothing or nobody should be able to sway you. Not money, not someone's influence, nothing.
I think that as much as I said these glowing things about Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso, I disagree with that his notion and all of those things about how the elite are this or the people are that. We still know that there's a large chunk of the electorate that look to their leaders for guidance on how to vote, and it's not a northern thing. It's not an Igbo thing. It's not a Yoruba thing or a South thing. It's just a Nigerian politics thing where people will wait for their leader to say,
This is who we're voting for.
this is who we're voting for, and this
Okay.
is so you can't rule that out. What is all this noise about structure if you're claiming that people will support this person or that person? So I want to disagree
You
with
with that?
him on that. But I thought he was going to say something like this. During the APC presidential primaries that Buhari won to go on to become president of Nigeria, he was second. Kwankwaso was second. Atiku didn't even come second, and they were all on the same, ballot
Ballot.
shape. I thought that was what he was going to talk about, saying that, look, if I could come second, and all these other people were involved, what do you think is going to happen now that Buhari is not contesting? That I think that plays more on people's psyche and PR, and it makes it work easier to say, oh yeah, he definitely was that popular at that time
Yeah.
for him to have come second in the primaries. But saying
But
that,
also, that primaries, looking at it too, we've also seen how at times primaries is, as much as yes, primaries works also, at times is really not the full scene, even though it might be a smaller one. Yes, you might not be as popular as some other
but
people.
you do know that it's harder to win the primaries than to win the general election.
Oh yes, that's what I'm saying, that you might not particularly win a primaries in your party, does not mean that there's not a larger chunk of people that are not even party members that would vote for you if you.
Yeah, but there is no guarantee that that larger chunk will be able to take you across the line.
Oh yes,
Because we're talking about a spread. We're talking about you having to win at least 24, 25 states. They're talking 25% of this and that. You need a spread, you get. And that's what the party should usually or normally do for their own flag bearer. If there's a doubt about the groundswell of support that Kwankwaso has, let us put it aside. He has that massive supportership, like he has that massive followership. If there's a doubt about the kind of support that Peter Obi has, put it aside. He also has massive supportership. You get now, Tinubu has it, Atiku has it, but the thing is, it is relative.
How much of that will carry you to the finish line?
It is relative.
How large is it?
It is relative. So we cannot say, because you're in a WhatsApp group and everybody supports one particular candidate.
Yeah,
means
that's it. I get, especially when you're talking about a country that has over 200 million people involved in it. It's I was reading something, I think over the weekend, where someone was going on about how some things happen and literally just juxtaposing some other countries with Nigeria's electoral process. And then someone had to come, which I agreed with the person, was that it's very interesting. Okay, Bessa was talking about how a third force is going to throw Nigeria's electoral system and is going to overthrow and do all this and do all that. Someone now came up and then went to the person's comments. I'm like that. For a country that has over 200 million people, that why is it that up until tomorrow, because the other person was using example of France, what happened in France and what and then someone had come out to say that how come till tomorrow in the US no other third force party has come to overthrow that. Think of, number one, population is involved. There is a large spread. Have you really studied the Constitution? How do you expect to just wake up one morning and for you to overthrow something or for you to change something? That's the thing. Like, we all know that it takes a while, and it now depends on your network and the network of people that are around you that will make it work. So I kind of enjoyed Kwankwaso's interview. It seemed to me like someone that, and why I would not, it was something that I think I've confirmed now, something I thought for a while, that he seems to have a huge grasp of Nigerian politics. That you cannot take away from him. He gets it to a large extent. He gets it to a large extent. So he said a lot of things that you'll be like, okay, this person has an idea of how, and then him throwing jabs at people.
Yeah, there's an important jab borrowing from your colorful English jab, because in boxing you jab then you punch. Yeah, it's jab punch, jab punch. There's an important thing that he said. I seen that on social media a couple of days ago. Then he actually said this on video now on national television, on Channels TV. We were watching the interview, and he said that Peter Obi is surrounded by. In fact, he didn't even say surrounded anymore. Now he has zeroed in and said there's a particular character, there's a particular person who he feels is misleading Peter Obi, and that to the point where the person is still a member of another party. Some people put it differently. They said that in the morning this person is Labour Party.
Do you know? And you remember that this was what we're talking about how watching this thing yourself. Like, really saw that headline and that about. Actually, he didn't say anything like that. No, he did not. He did not.
When you watch it, you understand. So, but some people have helped him to color it. So I'm borrowing from that color. They said in the morning this person is Labour Party, in the evening is PDP. So you look closely and start to wonder. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's Peter Obi's running mate," because he does have a running mate who is from the southwest, and that's what a lot of insinuations are about now. But we'll see. According to Rabbi Kwankwaso, this will play out, and everybody will see it eventually. Another person who was touted to be a supporter of Peter Obi, but I think she's had a run-in with his followers on social media is Aisha.
Aisha Yusufu.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What happened?
And recently, I saw a headline that I did not read, so I'm just talking about the headline because normally we talk about what we've read, but I just wanted something about Peter Obi is being deceived or whatever. I'm like, okay, why are two people talking about this at the same time?
At the same time, yeah.
Maybe there is something to look into.
Maybe.
So for the people who are close to Peter Obi and the people who believe in Peter Obi, they should urge him so that it doesn't fail. Because when people say a lot of things at times, you think they're trying to get you or they're trying to bring you down. No. Listen to the criticisms. At times they might help you. So that it does not fail, can you look into what people are saying about him being surrounded by moles or people who might not have the best intention of his campaign at heart?
So we'll see how that plays out. The interesting part is that it's still it might not look like it's a long time, but it's still about 8 months to go. So we will definitely
it's too long.
We'll see. There's a lot of drama that is still going to happen. That we can definitely say.
It's too long. I have a feeling that even you will lose one or two so-called friends, because I have a feeling that I would. I'm on the verge of blocking some of my friends or muting them.
I've blocked 2 people today already.
Yeah, and I'm saying friends now. I'm not even saying non-regular or non-Twitter people. But I'm on the verge of blocking a few friends because the truth is we would not agree on these things.
It's normal. We're human beings, and the minute you have a brain, a functional brain.
I haven't even supported anybody. I'm just saying that, look, think about things, and stop trying to force people. Oh my God.
It's fine to have
I noticed that this friend of mine, every time I put something out, now he's going to come across and say, and he says things like, fictitious or supposed or whatever. And I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, really? Really? Like, seriously?
You will soon chop blocking.
So,
I will so block you.
In the next 24 to
You're
48
behind.
hours.
I'm going to block you.
So, but INEC really needs to think about it. I know they're trying to catch up on lost time and trying to put things in place. But we don't
maybe
don't need a 7-8 months.
No, it was 9 months. It's exactly 9 months from when the primaries.
I'm talking from now. I'm not even talking about what has passed.
When it even started.
We don't need a 7-8 months.
I feel
campaign period.
Which campaign has
it has not even started officially. We don't need it.
For me, I felt that the February March time was always when it was around that time that elections go on anyway. The issue I had with it was that the primaries were probably too early. There was nothing stopping for elections that is going to happen in February. There was nothing stopping INEC from having those primaries as late as October, November, or even December.
Can I disagree with you? Yeah. Because we're saying the same thing, but the timelines are different. I want a scenario where we can actually organize the primaries when they were organized. Yeah. Pick the vice presidents within a day or two. Yeah. And in a month or two after primaries, let's go to elections. Let's go to the elections in September. Hear me out. And we're talking about all the elections, from state to federal. So there will be petitions, there will be disagreements, there will be court cases and everything.
So all that should be done before May 29th.
Peter, tonight's game. All of that should be done within the space of October, November. By December, everybody knows who is coming in May. What that means is that a president in waiting can start planning his cabinet from December. January, February, March, April, May. 5 months of transitioning. Just picture a governor who knows, I'm the governor, this is my vice, and this is my cabinet. They are ready. We need more time to plan. You know what they said about how if you're given the task to cut a tree, and maybe you're given a 2-year, I can't remember that phrase very well, but let me just paraphrase it. That if you're given, say, a whole day to cut a tree now, and you're given an axe to cut the tree, some people say that they will spend 10 hours or 20 hours, sharpening the axe, and use 4 hours to cut the tree. As against the person who starts to cut the tree from the get, you tire out, your axe will go blunt, and the guy who didn't start cutting will defeat you. So let us do all of the preparations so that on the first,
like, you hit the ground running the very first day you get.
The first day of your swearing in, you're going to walk. From that inauguration ground,
there's always party. It's our own.
No, you can party.
Like what we.
No. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. This is our life here. Party. But I'm saying right there, in your inauguration speech, you're announcing.
Shout out to Governor Soludo, though. He actually did 8 hours of work the day he got.
Ambode did it too now. When it was the day Ambode was sworn in, he went to work. People have been doing it, So shout out to Soludo. Shout out to people who are doing it. But which president has done it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That from there, you're announcing your entire cabinet, and tell them that there's an executive meeting this afternoon.
But the Senate, he can't do that because
let them come now. Shebi Senate will just sit down to ratify ni. Shebi they will do screening ni.
But what if some of those people don't make yours?
Won't it be faster? Do we have to wait for 1 month before he announces like Buhari took almost 6 months the first time to announce.
Yeah, now we know those things are out.
Because
out
there's a
the
law
window,
against
because
it.
there's a law.
But before there was a law, why do we have to wait?
Which is good. I think that if you want things done, put laws in place. That's it. For me. Before we go, wow, we're almost like out of time. Before we go, another thing that I was going to talk about, sadly, the NDLEA over the weekend caught a few people, which it's almost, it's, my question always still goes back to, is it that there are more people carrying drugs, or that NDLEA is just catching more people? Because I don't know if you saw the stories of someone who is a former Lagos BRT driver that was caught on his way to Dubai at the Lagos airport, where he excreted 90 pellets of cocaine. And another that had in possession about 4.2 billion naira worth of heroin that was actually put in Cerelac containers.
2 brands have just been demarcated now with this report. The Bus Rapid Transport System in Lagos and the Cerelac. We apologize. It's not our fault. It's the people who were arrested. Now, let me put that aside. It's the mule that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And if a mule has 90 pellets of cocaine, or excretes 90 pellets of cocaine, the person that sent that mule, that drug mule,
has 5,000.
Thank you. So we should be more concerned about the barons, the drug barons, as against the mules. But I'm not saying discredit or discountenance what has happened. Hold them, let them point you in the right
direction. You know,
so that the mule and the barons will be brought to book.
The Director General of the NDLEA has now said that the NDLEA has secured about 984 drug convictions since January 2022.
They're in the news every week. There's no way I'm going to doubt this, but we want more. We want a drug-free society in Nigeria. We want to clean things up because we're going through a pandemic, a drug pandemic. Not only the celebrated hard drugs, but even the lesser evils, in quotes, Miri and a couple of other drugs and substances.
All sorts of things that are
up for people. Some guy today parked on the road, blocked us from getting access to the main road because he wanted to stop to buy God knows what. It's from some lady that sells God knows what. And so we need to do more about these things.
Yeah.
So kudos to the men of
kudos to the NDLEA
Drug Law Enforcement Agency.
Before we move on to something else, still talking about politics of people that do not know, the Osun State elections is coming up very, very, very soon. In a matter of days, actually, it's less than 2 weeks anymore. I think it's July 16th, and there is a lot of back and forth. I think that there are few parties, as other than the PDP and the APC, that have suddenly sprung up in past couple of days. Or they've always been there, but there's more.
They just woke up.
They just seem to have woken up. I will not be surprised if it doesn't really go far, but maybe it teaches people a lesson that things should be done earlier than normal. You don't just wake up from your slumber a few days before and then you think that that is how people win elections. Nah, it's not working. But anyway, there was also something I wanted to talk about. I don't know if I'm sure you had seen the story as well, of how a particular church in Ondo State there had been rescues. There was a rescue mission over the weekend where the police had rescued 26 children, 8 teenagers, and 43 adults. And there are a few stories like that we've heard in Ondo State. A few days before that, we heard another one of about 50 There was one, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you remember the church too, that he found, I think, a dead body of a child under a church somewhere and all.
In Akure.
And in Akure, you know, I'm a Christian, so don't make it look like I'm maybe attacking Christians or what's it called. But why? Like, honestly, can't wrap my head around how people can be this wicked. I read a story of one of the parents of these children. Some of them know that their children are there. They literally kidnap them, and they're like, anytime they want to get to the church, that the security literally chase them away, claiming that rapture is coming and God said that you should keep some people, and you keep people against their will. There was one church where they were found that Almajiris, that they were I think that was in the southeast, where they were converted.
Not in the southeast, it was in Jos or something.
Where they were converted forcefully to Christianity.
Not true. That story is very untrue. Let's quickly address that one that you referred to. And I think it's the Seventh-day Adventist Church or something. What they have is a program where they rehabilitate people and train them. So a large chunk of people, Christians and Muslims, want to go through that program willingly. So they are trained and empowered to go into the world to earn and take care of themselves. So this particular set of people were brought in from, I think, Kano or Katna or God knows where. And the churches are alleging that they were planted, because what happened was, when the police came and they explained to them, they asked people who wanted to leave, and who wanted to stay, and 95% of the people stayed. Only some guy and his brother left and came back about a week or two after to say they wanted to be part of the program again. So again, we need to be careful the way people disseminate information.
Yeah, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, you know, so it was more or less like people trying to paint,
discredit.
Yeah, that program is actually meant to rehabilitate and help people, and it has nothing to do with brainwashing or forcing people to convert to Christianity or Islam. Let's put that aside. Now, I am from Ondo State, from Ondo town, where this stupid thing happened, and I know the place. Fumbi Fagun is actually an eyebrow area, and you know, Valentino and all those. So you start to hear like, okay, so how can a church in that access have someone who thinks like someone who's sick? I'm sorry. So this has been going on for months, and this is to urge people: read your Bible, read your Quran, follow your religion based on the real tenets of it, not what interpretations that people
somebody had
it.
said.
You know, and in your Bible it says, I will come like a thief in the night, which means that your pastor too does not know when God is coming.
Yeah.
So how do you believe someone who tells you God is coming and he locks you up and prevents you from seeing your family members? There's no rapture that is going to come that is going to be announced. Like they always say in rap, they say that the revolution will not be televised. The rapture will not be televised.
I was
it will not be announced.
I was reading a report where someone was talking about this, that they had told them in the church that there was going to be rapture in April, but then the church
postponed.
That said that it was postponed to September.
Yeah, God postponed
I'm
rapture.
Like,
can you believe
oh
that?
my God. Oh my God.
And you people still stayed there when they told you something was going to happen.
And I don't know. To me, it sounds a little bit like brainwashing. But I'm happy that the police have swooped in to take these people. These people need to go to jail. Jail, nothing else. They need to go to jail. Wow, looks like we're out of time. But on that note, that is all we're able to take today on the Bomba. Thank you for listening. Thank you very, very much for watching. We will be back again tomorrow with another wonderful edition of the bar. We'll bring you all the gist that has happened between today and tomorrow, and every other gist that we did not forget. There was one gist I was going to talk about with you, but looks like we're out of time. And so have a beautiful, beautiful day ahead, and we'll be back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. West African time. Peace.